All right, guys. Just me tonight. No Hutch. Hutch is living his life, doing something more important. Outside lands, I think, is where Hutch is. So I'm in the basement. I am, like you, I presume, watching 49ers and Broncos, but we have reached a point in 49ers and Broncos where that's not sick. That's terminally ill if you're really taking a deep interest in the second half. I mean, there's a guy number 76 on the. I have no idea who that guy is. In the second, I don't know who the hell somebody is on the San Francisco 49ers is the second that I'd consider the game over. That applies to regular season too. So we're going to do the live stream right here, right now. We're going to go over some studs and duds. Let's quickly go over what the hell we've seen so far. It was fine. It was fine. Honestly, I feel more encouraged about the 49ers after this game or after the first half of this game than I did going in. And the offense wasn't particularly excellent or awesome or anything of that nature. And we'll go over it, line by line. Again, first half of a preseason game. There's only so much that we want to read into here, but I feel good about the defense. I feel like the defense has some dudes, has some depth. The Broncos weren't exactly half-assing this, at least on the offensive side. Sean Payton was bringing it, and wasn't their elite level, but, there's a lot of hype about Harvey, the running back, that he could be a guy who starts, and the 49ers kept him pretty well bottled up. Obviously, Bo Nix is there. He's a good quarterback. Nothing like special. He's never going to win MVP, but he's a good quarterback. And I liked what I saw from the defense. The chat going in on Spencer Burford. You ain't kidding. Now, let's be clear about this. I was bullish on Burford going in. This is a very challenging moment for me as someone who was on the Spencer Burford bandwagon. Probably the only guy. It's not really a bandwagon if it's one dude. But, Nick Bonito just worked him on literally 3 straight plays. 1st and 10, 2nd and 16, 3rd and 17. Bang, bang, bang. 74 is the problem. Not encouraging if you're Spencer Burford. Very encouraging if you're Austin Pleasance. Hey, look who's got a job, Austin Pleasance. I'm going to give it the full body of work before we make broad proclamations on Burford, but he's definitely digging himself out of a hole after this performance. So, uninspiring from Spencer Burford, to say the least. And honestly, there's been some decent moments in practice. I saw some decent reps there, particularly in the run game, but you can't live like this. That is an elite pass rusher, to be fair, or maybe just sub-elite pass rusher in Bonito. I think he had 13 sacks last year. He's a hell of a player. The first play that got the 6-yard loss, that was more Luke Farrell, the tight end, missing that crack block. So I don't put that on Burford, but it doesn't look good for Burford, right? Like, it's in his area, and that's his guy for all intents and purposes. Second one just absolutely worked off the line. Third one absolutely worked off the line. Like, it's bad reps. It's bad reps, and it's gonna weigh on him until he puts out outstanding reps. And frankly, he's gonna have to put out like 3 or 4 really, really good ones to make up for the one really, really bad, the 2 really, really bad ones, perhaps even 3. Bad taste in the guy's mouth. So, let's just go over the studs and duds on this one. Studs, I thought Tatum Bethune looked fantastic. The linebacker, who very fringe roster player, even at a linebacker position that is deeply questionable. I thought Tatum Bethune was excellent. I'm not sure he's like the number one stud. None of these are in a particular order, but my goodness, excellent game from Tatum Bethune. And we'll get to the rest of the linebacker core in a second. Marquise Sigel, the rookie safety out of Kansas State. The coaches have talked up Marquise Sigel to me and Jake in a big way, to the point where we're like, okay, maybe tone it down. Just tone it down a smidge. Like, when we were out of practice, we didn't really see anything that gave us the kid can play. The kid can absolutely play. And I'm extremely encouraged. I think Sigel was the number one performer in this game. Actually, I'll give you one more. Junior Bergen as a punt returner. Ooh, that was a nice little shift there. There was a little something there. I'm not saying he's full Dante Hall or anything, but I get what they're going for with the Junior Bergen, and we would have no idea. We had no idea going into this game if Junior Bergen was going to be good at this or not, because you just cannot simulate a punt return or a kick return in practice. It's not going to happen at the NFL level. Junior Bergen looked really good on maybe his first kickoff return wasn't so great, but the other kick returns were really good. And then also an outstanding punt return from Junior Bergen. I'm counting it as a win for Junior Bergen. Let's count it as a win. This might be the one, the only win for one Robert Beal. I thought he was better. He was more good than bad today. Robert Beal doing something. Good for Robert Beal. He's going to have to do a hell of a lot more to stay on the San Francisco 49ers, at least as I break down a roster. Not my call, ultimately. But Robert Beal had a nice preseason game. Kalia Davis had a nice preseason game. CJ West is a beautiful, beautiful football player. He is a wonderful, silly-looking football player. I cannot get enough of CJ West. Anyone who hangs out on this channel knows that I've been all the way in on CJ West for the better half of a year now. I've been all the way in on CJ West longer than my daughter has been alive. My youngest daughter has been alive. Like, that's how long the CJ West thing goes. So that's perpetuity for me. Like, that's forever. That's my entire, like, that is forever. So CJ West looks the part. I wouldn't even bother playing him for the rest of the preseason. I'm sure they have things that they need to work on, this and that. I can't risk getting CJ West hurt. He's an impact player for this team. I thought that there was as much good as there was bad for Jordan Watkins. So I'm not calling him a stud, but I'm not calling him a dud either. Stud, 50-yard, third down play, fantastic, right? Just running the slot fade, excellent work. Can't get enough of him. Dud, I mean, the interception's kind of on him. I don't know where Mac Jones was throwing to, but I can't imagine. I'm just guessing. This is a guess. I'm guessing that the rookie wide receiver wasn't in the right spot, as opposed to Mac Jones's arm is completely shot when he had no pressure on him, steps in, tries to deliver the ball to a spot, it gets intercepted by McMillan. Like, I'm going to guess that the rookie wide receiver wasn't in the right position. That's my guess. That's about it on the goods. I mean, there's some, anyone else who you want to toss in there? Let's get into it. But let's go with the duds. Nick Zakelj had an awful game. Spencer Burford had an awful game. Very concerning that those two had awful games, right? Because those are guys who are expected to make the roster. So now we're going to have to, I'll watch this tape again and just focus on the offensive line snap after snap. But Zakelj was getting run into the quarterback repeatedly on pass pro, and he was missing blocks in the run game. I thought Zakelj had a disaster class at right guard. Disaster class. If not for Burford's just glaring failures and the fact that it's offensive line play, people will be talking about Zakelj. Stone Blanton, we'll get more in the second half here. Maybe it's a bit early to make a proclamation, but his missed tackle in the open field, that's the kind of stuff that says, hey, buddy, thanks for showing up. We'll give you a call if we need you sometime down the line. Connor Bradley, I love the zip on the football. There's a reason a guy with that kind of zip on the football is floating around. Luke Farrell, what the hell was that? What's going on here with Luke Farrell? He doesn't look appreciably better than Tonjes or Willis, and those two guys aren't good. So not encouraging that Luke Farrell, someone that they gave serious money to, like life-changing money for you or me, he doesn't seem like he's a stopgap for what has been one of the biggest problems for the San Francisco 49ers over recent years, which is they have no backup. They have no backup for George Kittle. Farrell with an unimpressive start. Let's call it a reverse. What was the guy's name last year? A reverse Saubert, where Saubert comes in week one against the Jets, looks incredible, and then the rest of the season was doo-doo. This might be a reverse. That's the best case scenario here. Darrell Luter, I thought, had a bad game. I know he had a nice pass breakup. I thought that he was getting lost in coverage. I think it's his breakdown that allowed that easy touchdown in the back of the end zone to the Broncos tight end. He was supposed to stay out because it's cover 3 or cover 4, like it's preseason football. Don't know why you would leave that corner of the field open, but alas, it was. I didn't enjoy watching him in the run game. I was unimpressed by Darrell Luter in this one, and it's somebody that I've been kind of waiting to see get this kind of opportunity. Early returns not ideal. I'm going to throw Dallas Flowers in the bad category, though I do think that Dallas Flowers wasn't like horrible. Like I feel bad kind of putting him in here with some of these other guys, but yeah, he got burned on the tight end on the touchdown. Sorry, with Trent Sherwood. Like that was a really good throw, really good catch. He still gave up the touchdown there. Okay, maybe that's a bit harsh. Maybe it's a bit harsh, but here we go. Third down penalty early in the game. Can't happen. Can't happen. And then I saw the really bad return. It was such a bad return. I know that, again, I know that Luter had the nice pass breakup. He wasn't in great position on that play. He was a step or two behind. It was just an underthrown ball. And yeah, I didn't like what I saw from Luter. I'm not feeling great about the cornerback position, which is something that we hadn't talked. The cornerback position, we go, they got some decent depth there. Like they'll figure it out. I wouldn't be shocked if we see more people getting churned through at corner against the Raiders and then against the Chargers, because Luter and Flowers, I like Flowers. Maybe it was just not the best game for him. I can see the vision there. He's a former starter for the Colts, all these good things. I'd like to see somebody else get a shot, right? If we're gonna have this as a legitimate look to try to find some serious depth here at a position that is a serious question mark. And then we're going to talk about Nick Martin. Nick Martin had a very bad game in the first half. There's no way to sugarcoat that. He looked lost. He looked slow. He looked weak. Those are three things I don't want to be saying about my linebackers. He is a rookie. It is an exceptionally difficult position, and the Broncos weren't exactly holding stuff back offensively. That short, that quick short passing game, not easy on linebackers. That's the whole damn point of it. But my goodness, he looked like somebody who is fringe roster, like him and Stone Blanton giving me the same vibes right now. And for all the yapping about Nick Martin, this would have been a good opportunity to shut me the hell up about all my concerns. And he'll get ample opportunity moving forward. He'll get more reps against the Raiders. He'll get more reps against the Chargers. He'll be on the roster all year. He'll get reps in the preseason next year. He's going to get a long runway, and perhaps by the end of it, he'll have shown what he can do. But it looked apt that he was wearing 45 because it was Demetrius Flanagan fouls all over again. Too small, too slow, not instinctive. I really did not like it. Now, I'm going to be fair here. I was paying a lot of attention to him. I was watching a lot of Sigel. I was watching a lot of Nick Martin. I was watching a lot of Collins. I was watching a lot of CJ West. These rookies were the guys that I was really looking to pay attention to. And, Collins got pushed around in the run game a little bit. So did West to a degree. We should be fair on that. I thought Collins had enough good reps where you can see the vision and understanding where he's at in coming back from the injury and getting his legs under him. I'm not writing off Alfred Collins in any way, shape, or form yet because too big, too strong, too fast. And when it pops, it really I saw enough, right? You got that little twinkle in the eye. You saw enough, I think, to be like, hey, well, let's see this one through. Let's not get hasty on this. I'm feeling a little bit hasty about the Nick Martin situation. Also, I'd be totally remiss not to give a shout out to Chase Lucas, who I thought was outstanding in the first half. Kind of hard to have any other opinion. A nice thing to see, one for Chase Lucas, a veteran who has hung around trying to make it happen, but also a team that, listen, Upton Stout's going to start at slot. There's no question. Everyone on the 49ers agrees. It's not formal or anything like that, but Upton Stout is going to start because he is just he's a supernova in practices. He is about it. And he's smart and he is physical. He is out there to inflict pain. The problem is he's tiny. So it's a good thing to know that the 49ers at least have perhaps some competency backing him up, because it's almost impossible to imagine that Upton Stout is going to make it through a 17-game season at his size. Hope I'm wrong, because he is fun as hell, and I look forward to you guys being able to see him on the football field. He is fun as hell, and it takes seconds to be like, oh yeah, that dude's got the crazy. You know, the fabled crazy that Jake and I talking about so much. Does he have it? Oh yeah, this kid's got it in spades. So it's good to see that Chase Lucas had a nice performance today, because at least then we can say, yeah, he's not that bad. Whereas last year we would have been like, Jesus Christ, do they bring Diamador Lenore back to the slot? Like, we got to do something here. So good for Chase Lucas. Way to win a job, even if it's like the last job on the roster. Okay, all the comments have been in the corner so far, but we're just going to go. We're just going to go a little bit here. Let's go filthy casual. Was Collins keeping his pads low? As far as I could see, I mean, when he was getting moved around in the run game a little bit, it's, you know, zone blocking. They're giving you the run. They're kind of getting the angle on you. I'm going to watch the lines a little bit more thoroughly on a rewatch. And again, first half, there's a lot of guys on the field who, you know, the UFL stars of tomorrow on the field tonight. I'll watch it again, but from my vantage point, first watch, kind of doing the quick replays after snaps, I thought he was fine. And honestly, I don't think pad level is going to be his issue. I talked about this on another show I did on Friday. You know, Jake texted me the other day. He goes, it sounds like they're starting to talk about Collins the same way that they talked about Kinlaw, which is a kiss of death if you know the 49ers. But they're very different. And again, it's not because Collins is going to be a hit and Kinlaw was a bust. I don't know if Collins is going to be a hit. I really don't. And Kinlaw had all the potential to not be a total bust. And hell, I think he just got paid a ton of money. So clearly someone still thinks that there's something there that can be squeezed. But Kinlaw's issue was he was 6'5", 300. I mean, he was a specimen. He's the exact thing you're looking for when you are just drafting on spec a defensive lineman. The problem is he was a bad defensive lineman. Like, he had no technique. He had no ability to execute the basics of defensive line, which is he would stand up immediately anytime someone made contact with him. He was just very easy to unfold the chair, if you will. And that's the opposite of what I see with Collins. Collins' issue is that he can't yet do, and perhaps will never be able to do, what Chris Kusarek, defensive line coach for the 49ers, wants him to do, which is shoot the gap, get upfield, explode. Chris Kusarek's ideal world is that none of his defensive linemen even touch an offensive lineman. They just get into the backfield as fast as possible, agents of chaos, and who cares if they're running a screen to the other side? Go. Collins at Texas, and Jake did great breakdowns on this during the draft process. Collins at Texas was a two-gap player. He was asked to hold the A-gap or B-gap consistently, time after time, to allow the smaller Texas defenders who really could fly to be able to make plays. But he was doing what C.J. West did often today, which is taking on not one but two guys, holding the gap, and then allowing the other players around him to make plays. That's difficult to do at the NFL level for anybody. Apparently not for C.J. West, but for mere mortals, very difficult to do at the NFL level. And I saw a little bit of it, but that's quite different than explode into the backfield, right? That's not that broad jump explosion off the line that the 49ers so love. This is a project, and it's going to take a minute, right? And if it hits, it's going to be obvious because it's going to be spectacular. I don't think a couple of practices in a preseason game is a reasonable period of time to expect Alfred Collins to look like the finished product, whatever the hell that might be, right? I'd have to guess, given his level of talent. And you see it every now and again. You see it pop through every now and again in drills. his physical level of talent is such to where it's like you have to have some patience with this. And that is frustrating and probably imprudent from the 49ers when we consider where this team is at, that they took on a project of this sort of magnitude. Pardon the pun. But that's where they are. And luckily, they have a guy like West who can give you immediate impact on the defensive line. And Kalia Davis looks good. And Sebastian Valdez might just make himself a football team, as we thought he might, as he thought he had a chance to do when we broke down the UFAs after the draft. So I'm not worried about Collins yet, but you can be worried about him because he is an enigma. And ultimately, he is not what he is eventually expected to be yet. And I don't know how long it's going to take for him to get there, if he'll ever get there. And the project is just a little bit frustrating because the 49ers need players now as opposed to theoretical players down the line. Like the Eagles can get away with shit like this, where they draft a guy and then take a year or two to develop him because they have the players in place now to hold down the fort, right? They don't need the replacement today. They need the replacement for a year or two down the line when that guy gets too expensive and they move on from him. And that's what the 49ers used to do, or at least that was their model. But they don't do that anymore because they got rid of all of their veterans, save for the very, very good ones this past offseason. So now it's just rookies, journeymen, and the most expensive players ever. It's a very good representation of America. It's a lot of one percenters. And then 1% holds all the talent for the San Francisco 49ers right now. And maybe some kids are coming into the workforce that can change that paradigm down the line. But it's frustrating in that regard. It's frustrating. Nick Martin, awful tackling. You saw what I saw. I don't get the impression of a lot of doom and gloom. I'm not going to blame anybody for being doom and gloom coming into this chat. I've been priming the audience for that for a long time. I'll tell you a little something. When I was at practice last Thursday, so I didn't go to the joint practice, I saw Naked Gun instead, which was a great life decision, by the way. But when I was at practice last Thursday, I didn't, because I haven't been there every day because of paternity leave and such, and I'll be there every day in perpetuity. But I was wary of making broad proclamations off of one practice, right? Everyone's entitled to a bad day. Anyone can have a good day. And when I initially started covering the 49ers, I was also covering the Raiders as a columnist. So I was switching between Napa and Santa Clara every other day for the first couple of years that I was working in the Bay. So I wasn't getting that sort of, highly concentrated dose of training camp to where I can feel like I can make very strong proclamations on what is and what isn't. So this is the first time in a minute that that's been the case. But what I remember from last year, and what I've learned over the years in covering training camps, is that the day-to-day doesn't matter as much as the big picture matters. And every camp will give you a big picture. And the big picture of last year, anyone could have deduced: chaotic, lazy, hungover, not ready for prime time, and that carried right into the regular season. I don't know what happened in that Jets game, but can't tell me I'm wrong. This year, my impression was that this team is just pretty mid. And the joke that I told Rob Stats Friday was the best player at 49ers training camp has been the schedule. The 49ers aren't going to win 10, 11, 12 games because of George Kittle or Christian McCaffrey or Brock Purdy or Fred Warner or Nick Bosa. No, they're going to win that because of the schedule. At least that's how I hear it being told. The schedule is very, very easy. I'm not saying it's not a factor, but I would have loved to have been at this point in the preseason, because now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, right? They're going to go to a joint practice against the Raiders later this week. They're going to play the Raiders. They're going to come back. They're going to get a couple of days. They'll probably do the dress rehearsal against the Chargers, and then they're in Seattle game week, right? And the Seattle game week really starts before the Chargers in many senses. The roster is they're going to start making like legitimate cuts here in the coming days. And they're going to start to pare it down a little bit. Not that they have to, but because that's what you do for veterans who ain't going to make the team, just to be decent. They just felt mid. And that's okay, because mid with an easy schedule might be much better when you look at the standings. But I couldn't shake the feeling of 9-8. I just couldn't. I don't think they're an 8-9 team. I certainly don't think they're a 7-10 team. I think they're too good for that if they stay healthy, which of course is a massive if, seeing as they are consistently one of the most injured teams in the NFL. Like, what the hell's happening this year, by the way? They didn't have enough dudes. They're having to stop their kicking competition because they don't have enough dudes. Equinemius St. Brown shows up for a second time and then gets put on IR. Not Danny Amendola. That would have been a hell of a pickup. Danny Isabella shows up. He's like not. They are picking up broken bodies off the street to operate in camp. Robbie Chosen was chosen again. Like, there's some issues here, and this Jawan Jennings situation is messy, and we don't need to get into it right now. But ultimately, the health of this team, which feels very fundamental to any notion of maybe not making the playoffs, but winning the division, doesn't feel like it's there. Now, that can change in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and they can go into the regular season, and it was all just, water under the bridge, no worries about it. Or this could be a theme for the year. We'll just have to keep our eye on it as we move forward. But I just get a lot of 9-8 energy off of this football team. And then again, that is entirely incumbent on Kittle and Trent and Purdy, obviously, and to a degree McCaffrey and these guys staying healthy. Fred, for sure. Bosa, for sure, staying healthy. Because there's no middle class on this team. And while it might have a lot of guys who should be NFL players on the roster, you need impact players to be competing for Super Bowls. This team doesn't look anything, at least from what I've seen, which is limited comparatively to other years. Full disclosure. I don't see anything that says Super Bowl about this football team. Maybe things break their way and that changes halfway through the year. Maybe they need a little bit of an on-ramp. And the back end of this schedule should be, we'll see, should be easy. But that schedule takes into account last year's performances. Doesn't necessarily carry forward. People don't think it will for the 49ers. Niners were 6-10 last year. No one thinks that's going to happen again. So there are going to be teams that the Niners are going to play down the line who everyone thinks, oh, those guys suck. Turns out they don't suck. Teams go from last to first in the NFL a lot. So something to keep an eye on. Like, let's not worry so much about the nitty gritty. I mean, we will because we're sickos here. Let's not worry so much about the nitty gritty when it comes to who's going to get what position and when. Like, the real issue that I have is, like, what's the general theme of this team? Like, what's the energy that I'm getting off of training camp? And right now it's like, man, this team's kind of mid. Leal Wille, like, Bethune better than Martin. I'm with you. Is Siegel for real? He very well could be. Filthy casual. Salah's blitzes look. Have to agree. I thought Robert Saleh decided to make some stuff. I mean, he got 2 points off of a blitz. That was a hell of a play. It was a hell of a play by both Chase Lucas, and then D. Winters was blitzing on the other side. And I didn't get the full D. Winters experience. He was out before I really kind of took notice of him at all. So I'm not sure, but yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy. Already speaking, the Niners are going 17-0. Good luck with that. That's probably more correct. I don't really care about 23-9. Sorry, 23 unanswered points. Like, does anyone have strong opinions about Amir Abdullah or Corey Kiner or Russell Gage or Isaiah Hodkins or Jake Tonjes? Like, again, UFL, baby. UFL. Running back depth is trash. It's not ideal, but I'll say this. Kiner has something and Abdullah has something. Like, those are NFL caliber running backs. So it can't be that bad, but they're in big trouble given that they're 1, 2, and 3 weren't playing in this game and 2 of them are injured. Are the Niners Cockars, the Broncos defense that good? I'm going to go on the latter part right now because they were dialing it up too. Robert Saleh was bringing blitzes. So was Denver, and Denver wasn't messing around. So, I again, you don't want to make a huge deal out. Like 23-9, who gives a damn? Like, did you see good execution on defense? Some of the guys that I think that they're going to have to rely on this year showed really good execution. The guys that I worry about, And again, I'm being nitpicky on like a Dallas Flowers and a Darrell Luter. Like I'm being unfair to them if I'm being totally honest, because it doesn't really compare. Like those guys weren't great. Those guys aren't starters. Like Nick Sakelj had a disastrous game. That guy's not a starter. I think it's encouraging that a guy like Tatum Bethune looks so damn good today because you need a starter. Like, I think Luke Gifford is ultimately the Sam linebacker on this team. But, like, if Tatum Bethune can take that job, that's great because Tatum Bethune should sure as hell be the backup right now as it stands, and it is early yet. But Tatum Bethune should sure as hell be the backup at will. And I'm not sure that that's, conducive to his skill set. But ultimately, I don't see much of a skill set right now with Nick Martin, and he has ample opportunity to show it from here on out, but he better start showing something because early returns are not ideal. Siegel's the real deal, man. Like there's a lot of, I think that there's more positives than negatives to take out of this game. Don't worry about the score. Don't worry about, you're dealing with a guy that you signed off the street 10 days ago at quarterback. Like the offense stands no chance when Bradley's out there. They cut Tanner Mordecai. No one wanted him. They brought him back. Stands no chance. Like Mac looked okay. He looked like what a backup quarterback looks like. He had a couple good throws. He had a couple bad throws. So I'm not overwhelmed with concern about the offense because they unquestionably suck today. They had a lot of guys who generally suck at football playing on offense, and that's not a new opinion. Like it wasn't like we had high expectations for the vast majority of these guys playing on the 49ers offense. They're so banged up. They're so injured, and their depth was so wanting even before the season started. Everyone knew that, if you were to be honest with yourself, that to expect anything different is ridiculous. They were doing second half of preseason game lineups for the first couple drives of the game, save for perhaps Mac Jones. So I'm just not overwhelmed by the offensive failures in this one because I just didn't expect anything different. Rookie class looks bad to average at best. I think that's aggressive. I think that's aggressive. Tanner Mordecai would be tearing up this third string defense. Sure. Like, what are we talking about here? Now, listen, the Broncos were 7-point favorites in this game. And if you had Broncos -7, you're feeling good right now. If you're betting preseason football, you need to seek help. I'll also throw that this way. I would like to see anybody else. One other thing I want to note here. And again, anything you want to get in, any questions, any comments, we'll talk about it all in the chat. They started with 12 personnel. Some of that is that there's only one fullback on the team. They're a 21 personnel team. You move over to 12 personnel because you're not going to play juice in a preseason game. But as someone who has said that they're going to play a lot of 12 personnel this year because that's what Sean McVay did last year, a little bit of a vindication. We'll see what happens against Seattle. And it might be a week-to-week thing. And it might actually be 21 personnel lined up as 12 personnel because they used Juszczyk as the second tight end because Luke Farrell kind of sucks. I did see, I don't play video games anymore because I don't have the time, and also I don't gamble anymore. And apparently video games are just gambling now. Like, hey, buy these packs of cards so that you can play Madden. Regardless, out of curiosity, and I don't think that they do a particularly good job with this, but out of curiosity, I wanted to see what the 49ers Madden ratings were. And Luke Farrell was like one of the worst rated players on the team. He was in the 60s. Unencouraging. I kind of liked a little bit of the tape that I saw from Farrell at Jacksonville. I did. I thought that wasn't the worst signing in the world. And I'm not going to completely back off of that stance off of one preseason game and a couple of snaps, but it was a bad snap. It's a bad snap. Unencouraging. Offense in general, unencouraging. I mean, even Watkins, who has the standout play on offense, like, did a couple bad things after that. So you're getting the who. By the way, Watkins might be the wide receiver 2 on this team in week 1. Like, they got a real issue at wide receiver here. Let's just do the Juwan Jennings conversation. Brandon Ayuk ain't coming back anytime soon. That knee exploded. It done exploded. So Your wide receiver 1 is Juwan Jennings. Put a pin in that just for now. Your wide receiver 2 is Demarcus Robinson. Demarcus Robinson's getting suspended. I don't know when. Should have happened yesterday or the day before so we could all just move on with our lives. But he should be suspended given that his court case has been fully adjudicated, to my knowledge. And the NFL's collective bargaining agreement says, hey, you're suspended for 3 games for a DUI. So you're down 1 and 2. And again, we're just putting a pin in Jennings for now. Pearsall, he's in there. He's looked good. Thank goodness they're not playing him in preseason. But that's where we're at now. Ricky Pearsall, who kind of needs the reps, if we're being honest, not playing in preseason because they can't afford to possibly get him injured. And after that, dealer's choice. I mean, I'm just going to pull up our lads real quick. I mean, I don't even know who's on the back end of the 49ers situation, like wide receiver situation, because there's so many different people that have been coming in and out. Cowing, we haven't seen Cowing in weeks. I guess we presume he'll be fine. Who knows? Russell Gage. Okay. Maybe by default, Russell Gage gets it. I will say this. I think Junior Bergen earned himself a roster spot tonight. Has nothing to do with him being a wide receiver, but he looks like a good punt returner. And I think Guerrero would be a really good kick returner if Isaac Guerrero ever plays football again, given that he can't seem to stay healthy. So Bergen's on the team. And if you're keeping 5 wide receivers, which when you break down the roster, you kind of have to, you really only have 4 spots because I don't think Bergen is ever going to give you impact as a wide receiver. So you're going Pearsall. If we're just talking week 1 as it stands today, fast forward, kind of a false premise, but let's just play the game. It's Pearsall and Cowing and Watkins and I guess Gage and Bergen. Pearsall, Watkins, Cowing, Gage, Bergen. Is that the worst wide receiver room in the NFL? That's some low down. And I liked what I saw from Jacob Cowing. I was really impressed with what I saw from Cowing in OTAs. I think Jordan Watkins really stands a chance, right? You're going to take the good with the bad, but at least you get the good. Pearsall was it. I shouldn't have to tell anybody who's hung out at this channel what I think about Ricky Pearsall, right? Like we carried the banner for months on Ricky Pearsall. Russell Gage has been an NFL receiver before. You root for him because he's coming back from injury. Man, you are looking down the barrel at a bad-looking situation. So let's talk about Jennings. I do believe that Jennings is actually injured. I think that he has no incentive to come back and play football anytime soon. And I don't know when anytime soon, what that time frame actually inhabits. So let's just run through the scenario here real fast. Juwan Jennings, I think it leaked out through Schefter right before training camp that he wanted a new contractor to be traded. Probably could have handled that business much earlier. I will note that the 49ers handled all of their business, right? Either getting rid of people and or giving the players that they did, the veterans that they did give or keep new contracts. They handled all that stuff in March and April and February. Like that stuff was handled. So the fact that Juwan Jennings didn't get the contract then was the 49ers saying, let's see you do it again, buddy. And I don't think they're wrong for that at all. And he might do it again, in which case he'll get paid by the 49ers or somebody else. But ultimately, the 49ers are not going to pay Juwan Jennings what Juwan Jennings thinks and perhaps might even be worth right now. They made that decision months ago. Nothing has changed in the months since, save for the fact that Juwan Jennings has gotten injured again and that it's another calf injury, this time, I believe, on the opposite side of, I guess, the other calf. He doesn't have 4 legs. His other calf from the one that he injured last year. And in that, there is a very real risk because I watch the NBA, of him blowing out his Achilles, right? And we saw with Christian McCaffrey, bilateral Achilles tendonitis last year. Seems bad. Seems less than ideal. And if you're Juwan Jennings, you cannot blow out your Achilles because you don't have steps to be giving up. You are already operating at sort of the baseline of acceptability when it comes to athletic traits. Now, you are an unbelievable winning football player, and you are a madman, and you will get by on that. But there is a requisite level of athleticism to be in the NFL, and Juwan Jennings is right up on it when it comes to foot speed. He's right up on it. Post-Achilles, Juwan Jennings is probably under it. And there's only so much crazy that you can provide before it starts becoming a detriment to your team more than a benefit, as it is currently with Juwan Jennings. And we've seen him even toe that line a little bit. He doesn't have a step to give. So he has no reason to be on the field anytime soon because his payday is coming down the line. It's not coming today. It's down the line. And he's got to keep that in mind. If he blows out his Achilles, he's playing for the rest of his career on the NFL minimums. Maybe someone throws him a couple extra shekels, but he is in a prove-it mode for the rest of his damn career if he blows out his Achilles. So why would you risk it? Why would you risk it at all? And I think that's the point. I think that's the point of contention here. Juwan Jennings isn't taking that field so long as that calf is in any way bothered. He is coming back at 150% healed. And I don't know when that, because it's calves. It's really tricky. I've had tight calves for 14 straight years. I'm always in fear that my Achilles is going to give out. So imagine what happens if you're doing stop and start explosive motions as a profession. I'm just worried about picking up my kid and blowing it out. So the idea that Juwan Jennings is going to be rushing back to the field because the 49ers need him, no, he's got to worry about, I mean, not 9, but a solid 8-figure payday down the line. He's got to think about it. So I am not bullish on the idea that Juwan Jennings is just going to be there in week 1. He might be. He might. I'm not telling you he ain't going to be. But I'm also telling you that he won't. I'm not telling you that he will. Right? Like, if I'm Juwan Jennings and I have to think about the long-term possibilities for my career, and the 49ers have said, we're not paying you today, I got to think a lot about tomorrow. So that's where I think they are with Jennings, which means, again, Robinson suspended. Ayuk ain't coming back anytime soon. And I'm just considering 25 a wash year for Ayuk, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't expect anything from Brandon Ayuk in 2025. It's gravy if he can come back and give you anything. And now this Jennings thing, which doesn't feel like it's getting resolved anytime soon. If it was if it was an injury other than calf, it wouldn't be this finicky of a scenario, right? It wouldn't be this peculiar of an undertaking. But calf injuries are just a sumbitch to get over. Right? And it's this 0 to 100 escalation of a little twinge in your calf, and then suddenly your Achilles tendon goes, and it's like, dude, that escalated quickly. And for, again, Juwan Jennings, if it escalates quickly in that regard, his future earnings plummet immediately. Stock market crash, Great Depression, Dust Bowl. You can't have that. You can't have that. Not if he's thinking long-term and it's training camp. And if the 49ers don't want to take care of him, he doesn't have to take care of the 49ers. So maybe the Niners would be prudent to throw him a couple of extra. But isn't that just kind of patronizing, right? At this point. So I'm not bullish on Juwan Jennings. Wonderful football player. Total asset to the team. But that calf is a very good excuse to not be out on the field. The idea that it's not the calf, he's making up the injury. No, I think the injury is now a great impetus to make it about the money. Because he was playing. He was going to go through it. He was going to prove the 49ers wrong by playing. Then he played. Then he got the calf injury. And he's like, whew, that was a close one. Shouldn't be pushing it like that. So I think the calf injury is real. I think the money thing is real. I think that both things can be happening simultaneously. And I don't expect resolution on either of them because I don't expect the 49ers, and I think they're right about this, to give him any money anytime soon. And I don't expect that calf injury to feel so good that Jawan Jennings is going to be like, let's do it, baby. Because I know this sounds strange to some, but I'm telling you, like, athletes see themselves as athletes first and football players second, right? And there is the fraternity of athletes that we will probably never be able to understand. I've been in that world, not as an athlete, but just in the day-to-day locker rooms, all these things. I've been in that world enough and talked to enough of these guys to understand that if something happens in basketball, like, guys in the NFL wonder what that means for them and vice versa. I don't know if hockey and baseball get in on this action, but like baseball, I guess, what happens fiscally in baseball, guys in the other leagues are looking at. The fraternity of athletes is always looking out for each other and always looking at each other, kind of trying to keep up with the Joneses. Remember the running backs bitching and complaining about guys on the mid-level exception in the NBA? Like, Timothy Mozgov's getting so much money. Why aren't we getting this money? They'd always complain that they wanted NBA contracts. Like, that was the term. It wasn't even just the running backs. They just wanted NBA contracts. Well, the NBA, the playoffs were defined in many ways by two dudes playing on tweaked calves and their Achilles tendons subsequently exploding. Like, that is front of mind for the entire athlete fraternity right now. The same way that everyone's like, what the hell's going on with the UCLs, the Tommy John surgeries in baseball? And we all know what it is. They're throwing too hard and workloads and things like that. But like that epidemic, like it's starting to get to that point when it comes to the Achilles tendon in points of explosion. And yeah, exactly. Like Kevin Durant is a great case in point. Now that's not front of mind because we have to go back to 2019 to remember it, but I was there. I was there. And the rhetoric about that persists to this day on should he have been out there or not. I mean, you get Tyrese Halliburton out there, like he said before, I knew the risks. I know the risks. I'm willing to put it on the line. I mean, it's Game 7 of the NBA. I get it. Was it Game 7? No, I don't think it was Game 7. But regardless, like he knew the risks. Yeah, didn't come up cherries. Let's leave it at that. Okay, one more thing I want to note here. I'll go through this comment section here in a second. Special teams looked awesome. That's huge. Like, that is such an underrated aspect of this moving forward. The hidden yardage, the Niners had to be that much better than everybody else in years past because they were that much worse on special teams. If you have Bergen as a good punt returner, and I think Cowing can do the job as well, to be fair. Morstead was bombing them today. Weeks looked awesome as a long snapper. I know, we're talking long snapping. It's probably time to get the fuck out of here. Moody looked fine. I saw no problems. Coverage teams looked really good. I'm feeling like special teams can be an asset for this team, and that asset could be the difference between a 9-8 season and maybe that's worth a win. Maybe it's worth 2, right? The incompetence was always worth a loss or 2, wasn't it? I mean, and it might not just be one game special teams doomed you, but it accumulates over time. It's kind of like run differential. It will always bear out in baseball. Like, your run differential sucks. Okay, you got 162 games. That's enough of a sample size that you're going to look like a shitty team at the end of the year. Your run differential is awesome, but you're a sub 500 team. It will get back there. It doesn't always work out, but 9 times out of 10 it does. When you have shitty special teams, it's those little knocks that end up losing you one more game or winning you one more game at the end of a year. And sometimes it's big and obvious and clear, and then sometimes it's the small stuff. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. Or victory by doing a bunch of little things right. So I'm feeling really, I mean, the one thing that I've really noticed when I've been out there is that they are drilling special teams in a way that I haven't seen anybody since the college game drilled it. And the college game, they drill it because none of these guys actually know special teams. And I've always found it interesting that at the NFL level, and there's been a baseline level of presumption, at least on my end, that they do it at some point during the week when I'm not allowed to watch. But when I covered the college game, they would drill special teams, and they would drill special teams in specific ways. Like, here's how we actually do, how you actually play gunner. Like, we're going to teach you how to actually play gunner. Because again, if you're playing at the college level, you never had to do those things in high school. You were good enough to play at the college level, in this case, SEC or Big Ten or ACC level. Like, if you were capable of playing at that level, like special teams, no, we're not putting you out there. I mean, maybe as a returner, but we're not putting you out there to be a gunner. Let somebody else do it. Let some kid who's not, this is the only time he's going to be on the field do it, right? And so they would teach a lot of people at the college level, multiple places that I covered, how to do special teams because they didn't come in with that implicit knowledge. I always found it weird that they didn't do that in the NFL because the guys who were good enough to go to the NFL, like they probably weren't doing special teams all that often, if ever at all, at the college level. I mean, for a lot of guys who are at the NFL level, the first time they've played special teams in a serious way is at the NFL level. Like, wouldn't you want to teach them how to do it? And yet, up until this OTA, minicamp, training camp, I had never seen the 49ers, nor the Dolphins, nor the Rams, any team that I've covered in the past, like Raiders. I hadn't seen any team actually drill special teams the way that I'm seeing Brant Boyer drill special teams. He's coming up with like interesting drills that make a lot of sense because if you don't see your drill in a game, your drill is not worthwhile. Well, I'm seeing a lot of drills that they're doing. They got trash cans out there and all this stuff. I'm seeing a lot of drills that I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a pretty good drill to get everybody in the right position in coverage. What a concept. What a concept. They're drilling special teams. They care about special teams. Kyle Shanahan, after 9 years, has been shamed into caring about special teams, and I would not be shocked in the least bit, if this team wins a game or two, not in the Seattle snow way, Talanoa Hufanga way, where it's one big play and wow, they're great. Richard Hightower was the coordinator of that special teams unit. Those special teams sucked, but they made one great play at the one right time. They also had Robbie Gould, who, take it or leave it. I think that they're just going to be so competent that hidden yardage will add up and it will accumulate into another win or maybe two. And that, for a team that just screams mid right now, could be that and the schedule and health. Yeah, the 49ers might really have something cooking here. They really might. I'm not telling you they're going 17-0 because I'm not ridiculous. This is a pretty mid football team. This could go just as wrong as it could go right. And I'm not the one to be pushing optimism in general. So if I'm telling you that I can see paths to double-digit wins here, and by the way, the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo is probably going to be the starting quarterback for the LA Rams, big win for the Niners there. I'm bullish on the Seattle Seahawks, but that's a lot of extrapolation on my end. Check in with Kyler Murray come November and December. So, what gravy you're the man. We have to find the little things over the next couple of weeks and certainly over the course of the season that can find you those margins that can separate you from the rest of the pack, the rest of the mid, because the Niners are getting by still on a lot of reputation when I have conversations around the league. Right. And let's not forget this team went 6-10 last year. What was it, 6-11? They won 6 games, damn it. So the idea that they're somehow just going to regress to the mean in a positive way, that's not how the NFL works. Shit ain't sticky. So I am very curious moving forward if the 49ers can find more ways to affect winning that might not be in your face. Special teams, I think, is very much one of them. And I think they're in a really good place there. So while they scream 9-8, Brant Boyer is making me think 10-7, folks. And who knows, in this division, 10-7 might be all you need. I think it's a great division. I think that everyone's going to get their pound of flesh. And I mean, as Filthy Casual says, it'd be funny if McVay unlocked Jimmy G's potential. We'd have something to talk about, wouldn't we? I don't think it's going to happen. He played a little last year. I don't think it's going to happen, but Stetson Bennett did win a national championship. Wouldn't mind seeing him. I actually like Stetson Bennett coming out. All right, I'm going to hang out for another minute or two. Anyone wants to get anything in, let's get it in. I'm going to go through the chat here real fast. Luter still being out there as of 5 minutes ago. Less than ideal for Luter. I'm not going to lie, I haven't watched the last 15 minutes of it. My computer was yelling at me, saying, shut the hell up, dude. 100% Dieter. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. Most people usually operate on like a 60, 70 out of 100, and that's fair. They need a new philosophy on drafting. I'm not sure what the philosophy was this year. I know that they've sort of reverse engineered one, but I think they were kind of going by the seat of their pants, if we're being honest. The Nick Martin pick was just so wild to me, and it remains wild until it's proven otherwise, man. The Nick Martin thing, for his sake, I'm very concerned about it. I need to see the pop. Will Michael get the preseason run? It's a great question. I'm going to guess no. And that sucks. That's brutal, because I've said it once, I've said it a million times. You don't get that first season's preseason in, you're playing catch up the rest of your career. I mean, Pearsall's feeling this right now. Isaac Orendo is feeling this. Jordan James is going to feel this. Not getting that first preseason, you're coming in the next year effectively as a rookie. And that's kind of where I stand with Pearsall. I love Pearsall. I think that he has a chance to be a really special player. I'd prefer if he was this team's fourth receiver or third receiver to their clear-cut number one, right? Like, he's going up against Patrick Surtain on Thursday. Like, that's not what Ricky Pearsall should be doing right now. Like, Ricky Pearsall should be going up against McMillan and depth guys and kicking their ass. And so that you feel really good, but like, he's third or fourth on the depth chart because we have really good receivers in front of him. Like, Demarcus Robinson's got a decade in this league. He's a good receiver. Brandon Ayuk is a $30 million a year receiver. Clearly, he's something sort of good. And again, this is all theoretical. And then Juwan Jennings is, who would you rather have if you're a 49ers outside zone offense, which values blocking at the receiver position? Who would you rather have in the slot than Juwan Jennings right now? You could put Pearsall in there every now and again, but those are three receivers that are unquestionably better at their best than Ricky Pearsall is today. But they're not here for 3 weeks in the case of Demarcus Robinson, we presume, for who knows how the hell long with Juwan Jennings, maybe nothing, maybe a long time, and probably a long time, if not a longer time, for Brandon Ayuk. So congratulations, Ricky Pearsall. Your new number one is also your spot on the depth chart. And that changes the paradigm, because this guy didn't practice at all last year. That sounds like this big, broad generalization, and it is to a degree, let's be fair. It is a bit hyperbolic, but like, run me down with this. He had a couple of practices without pads. Pads go on, shoulder gets injured, doesn't practice. Back in for a little bit, tweaks something, doesn't practice. Gets shot, out for 8-9 weeks. Comes back at the point in time, comes back midweek, doesn't know where to line up, doesn't know how to do anything. Can't blame the guy. Doesn't know how to do any of it. So now he's just in the fire. And he came back not because he was 100% ready, but because the 49ers really needed a receiver, because the rest of the league had figured out that Deebo Samuel couldn't do squat if you pressed him off the line. Shout out Trent McDuffie and Spags. So they really need a receiver. Ricky, how's that bullet wound feeling? Come on down. You're the next contestant on We Need a Wideout. And he comes in and he looks like dog shit. He looks like dog shit for weeks. And there are moments when you watch the tape where you're like, oh, wow, he's open there. He's open there. Like, you can see how this would work. But ultimately, it's not productive. And when you talk to, Purdy is now coming clean on it. But when you're talking to people in the locker room, they're saying, like, yeah, he just doesn't really know what the hell he's doing yet. And at some point, he'll know what he's doing. And then Brock will trust him because they're on the same page. But they're like not even close to the same page. Because when Pearsall showed up, one, he wasn't really capable of practicing. And then by the time he was really capable of practicing, right, and giving you a full week because he was that healthy, which was a couple of weeks after he first made his NFL debut, by that point, they didn't practice anymore because at that point in the NFL season, everyone's so banged up, you're on walkthroughs only. You might get, and certainly no one's tackling or anything like that. So you're in theoretical football mode because you're halfway through the season, if not more. You don't need to be practicing like it's training camp. You don't need to be practicing like the first couple weeks of the season. Your bodies can't handle that sort of a thing. So Ricky Pearsall hasn't practiced football at the NFL level. This is his first real run the last couple of weeks, like last 2-3 weeks. I mean, he wasn't even starting in preseason because of an injury. So he's in many ways a rookie on this team. I know he had 2 really good games at the end of last year, but he is in many ways a rookie. He kind of got a cup of coffee last year. In baseball, there are guys who get called up in September. They show up the next year. Well, that's their rookie year because they didn't reach the limits, right? There's a certain number of at-bats and games and all that. Ricky Pearsall didn't get to those thresholds. This is his rookie year. The Cubs are trying to still figure out the arbitration numbers on Chris Bryant. Like, that's kind of what the Niners did, not consciously, because none of that matters, because that's not baseball. But, like, that's kind of what happened with Ricky Pearsall last year. He didn't practice football. This is the first time he's practicing football. That's your number one receiver. Jacob Cowling's not practicing football. This is not a guy who has a track record. Like, I liked what I saw in OTAs and minicamp. Like, I liked what I saw from Spencer Burford in OTAs and minicamp. A little bit different than, hey, you're our number 2 receiver right now. Or, hey, you're our starting left tackle right now. I like a lot of what I see from Jordan Watkins. He's actually a rookie. Junior Bergen, no one expects him to be a wide receiver, but he better start brushing up on it because they might need him to be that. Is there a chance Tariq Owens somehow makes this team? Probably not, but we can't cut him yet. He can't be one of those cuts. Isaiah Hodgkins, I mean, are you going to make this team by default? So I am of the mindset that they got a really big issue in the first couple weeks. And then things can change because a couple weeks in, hey, here comes Jennings. Now you got a really good receiver. Oh, hey, here's Demarcus Robinson. Now you have a competent receiver at Z. And he's looked really good in camp. And then a couple more weeks, hey, maybe you just get Brandon Ayuk. A shell of Brandon Ayuk is still a pretty useful receiver in a limited role. So it can be fine. It can be fine. But I am not bullish on where things stand with wide receiver. And again, that is taking into account that I am perhaps Ricky Pearsall's number 1 defender in the San Francisco media. I think he is fucking awesome. I'm taking him in fantasy football. I'll tell you that right now. But I don't want Ricky Pearsall at this point in his career going up against ones. Like, that's not fair to him, and it's not conducive to a good offense for the San Francisco 49ers. But that's where we stand today. And then the running back room, like, yeah. But that's no different than the tight end room or the left tackle situation or the quarterback situation, though maybe the quarterback situation is a little bit more in the middle. Like, there is... Yeah, it is very top. It's a very top-heavy roster. It has been for a long time. This year, perhaps more than ever, it's top-heavy. In the years to come, I think that will be less of the case. But as it stands today, where you bring in so many rookies, and that qualifies as your depth, if not starters at a couple of positions, you got an issue. You got an issue. Because that's not viable winning depth today. If you're lucky, it might be at a position or two. But on the grand scale, it isn't. It's not winning depth. It's boom or bust. And that's kind of the Niners season. There's a lot of that going on. I'm not buying the hype on Mac Jones. Yeah, come on. Like, the Mac Jones hype, I'm not going to go too hard in on it because it was so goddamn obvious that it was going to happen. Mac Jones is an NFL caliber quarterback. And if he's your starting quarterback, you're thinking about who your next starting quarterback is going to be. That's what I think. Brock's dimes are going to make Ricky look like Jerry Rice. There's a potential. Like, again, I'm not bullish on the room, and I'm not bullish on throwing Pearsall into the fire the way that they are. But Ricky Pearsall is awesome. Awesome. So don't confuse concern for, fading his potential. He's awesome. But this is too much too soon for a player that maybe next year this would be an appropriate thing. For someone who hasn't practiced to now be the wide receiver one, like I think on Thursday when he was getting locked up by arguably the best corner in the NFL, which you can't hold against him, like there's going to be a lot of that. And the problem is you have to get the ball to Ricky because who the hell else are you going to give the ball to? I'm not going to say that Jordan Watkins is somebody who sort of changes the paradigm because, again, that great catch, that 50-yarder that set up the early touchdown, totally countered by the fact that it was a clearly poorly run route. He was certainly loopy on the back end, and I'm going to give Mac Jones the benefit of the doubt on where that ball was placed. So he gives and he takes. That's the plight of a rookie wide receiver, and it's why Kyle Shanahan, when he drafted Watkins, said, I think it's going to be hard for him to see the field. I think it's going to be hard for him to see the field as a rookie. Yeah, I think it is going to be too, unless you have no choice but to put him on the field. We're not going to make the playoffs. I mean, here's the other. 7 teams make the playoffs. 7 teams make the playoffs. And the 49ers can absolutely be one of the best 7 teams in the NFC. So I don't think that watching their 3rd and 4th stringers start a game and then the 5th and 6th stringers finish the game changes the paradigm for what the 49ers 2025 season is going to be. But you ain't kidding that Nick Martin looks like dog doo-doo. I'm interested to hear what Larry has to say about that. I think I'll talk to him on Thursday. Jake is watching the game as we speak. Apparently, he's taken time away from outside lands. I'm sure we'll talk about it on Monday. We look forward to talking to you as well. This was cathartic. This was fun. We'll do it again a hell of a lot more. We'll see you on the other side. And shout out Goat Lord and Rara. Have a great night, everybody. We'll talk on Monday.